So as you recall, we're looking at we have two different methods where we can assess what output would be best for the perfectly competitive firm to produce. First is the total revenue, total cost method. So it's, to give an example of how this works, it's quite straightforward. Let's just go through an example. So if somebody's selling t-shirts, she can get $15 every shirt, right? So it's the perfectly competitive price. So she can't charge more because somebody else will sell it. And she can't charge less. Well, she could charge less, but it'd just be foolish, right? She can sell as many as she wants at $15. Why would you sell as many as you want at $14? Fixed costs are 30, variable costs vary across production levels. We have a little chart here. I want you to go ahead and put this chart in your notes and fill the rest of the chart in. So fill in the total revenue and the profits. Go ahead and pause it and then take a few minutes and unpause once you have this filled out on your own, and then we'll talk through it. Okay, hope you paused it. I'm going to go ahead now where it'll reveal the answers and talk through, so if you haven't completed yet, you should be pausing now. Right, the price was $15. So what is the total revenue? Total revenue is simply price times quantity. Right? Total revenue is price times quantity. So take each level of output, quantity, multiply it by 15, and that gives you the total revenue. Right? 5 shirts at $15 is $75. 8 at $15 is $120. 1 shirt at $15 is just $15. The total cost was given. So profit is total revenue minus total cost. So negative 30, negative 29, negative 25, all the way down here. We see we reached the maximum profit at 6 units and $14. So what output should this firm produce? This firm should produce 6 units. The profit will be then $14. The second method to determine the profit uses marginal analysis. Looks where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, right? Where we look through the logic of why that happens in the last lesson. So marginal cost, marginal revenue, you should know these by now, right? The marginal cost, it's the extra cost you incur when you sell one more unit. The marginal revenue is the extra revenue you generate by selling one more unit. We could say something very specific about marginal revenue, though, in a perfectly competitive market. So marginal cost is going to vary based on the level of production. But marginal revenue, right, what's the extra revenue you get? In perfect competition, it equals the price. This relationship is only true in perfect competition. So in other markets, the extra revenue will not be equal to the price. But because we deal with a flat demand curve, a horizontal demand curve, when you sell another unit, the price stays the same, so your extra revenue is simply the price. So looking through the logic of does this make sense, the marginal revenue, which is the price, is constant. So the producer always, in our example, is getting $15 per shirt. Anytime the extra cost to produce another shirt was less than $15, the producer should produce that next shirt. If it's more than $15, they shouldn't produce the next shirt. It's relatively straightforward, once again, once you start thinking marginally. That's the trick on a lot of this, is just to start to think in terms of marginal means the additional, what happens when you sell one more unit. Once you can get in that mindset, the marginal analysis really works well. So you look for the point once you hit exactly price equals marginal cost, then you stop. So graphically, what does this look like? Well, we've got 3 different point quantities here, right? When marginal cost is less than marginal revenue, what should the firm do? Well, if the firm produces more units, it gets extra revenue and incurs extra cost, but you could see they make more profit, right? If you could sell a shirt for $15 and your extra cost is $11, you make $4 more. You'd sell that extra shirt. And you'd keep doing that until the extra cost exactly equals $15. Then you'd stop. On the other side, here, if you're selling a shirt for $15, but the cost is $20, you don't want to produce that last shirt. In fact, you want to keep cutting it down until that extra cost drops down to $15, and then you'd stop. So the only point where you're happy, right, the equilibrium, the balance point, on this market is where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. At any other point, the firm's either going to increase the amount that they're producing or decrease the amount that they're producing. So marginal cost equals marginal revenue. What you do if you're the firm, you find the quantity that sets marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. Now, for a perfectly competitive firm, marginal revenue equals the price. So for a perfectly competitive firm, find the point where price equals marginal cost. That level of output will maximize profits for you. Okay, we've got this chart, second chart to fill out. What I want you to do is fill out the marginal cost, the marginal revenue, and the marginal profit. And on top of that, I want you to be able to tell me what output should this firm produce based on the marginal revenue, marginal cost rule. Go ahead and pause it, complete this chart, and be ready to answer that question mentally once you unpause. Okay, here we have the chart where it's now completed. The marginal cost, it's the extra cost you incur when you sell one more unit. So our costs go from 30 to 44. Our extra cost is $14. Our costs go from 44 to 55. Our extra cost is 11. 55 to 62. Our extra cost is 7. And so on all the way through. Remember, marginal means additional. It's the extra cost that you're incurring. Marginal revenue is always 15. It's always equal to the price in this case. I guess we didn't say the price explicitly, although this is the same example as before. But marginal revenue, we're going up by $15 each time, so the marginal revenue is 15. So what's the marginal profit? Well, it's marginal revenue minus marginal cost. What extra revenue are you receiving? What extra costs are you incurring? We see that it's positive all the way up until the 7th unit. And the marginal revenue exceeds the marginal cost through the 6th unit, so you should definitely produce all the way through unit 6, right? That 6th unit, you get $15 in extra revenue and 6 in extra costs, right? You're making $9 more. You absolutely should be making that 6th unit. And in fact, if you look at profits, how is this all related? The profit is $5 if you produce only 5 units. We said, how much would profits go up by? We said they'd go up by 9. Well, it goes from 5 to 14. And so you should produce that unit. So you definitely should produce the 6th unit. What about the 7th unit? Well, if you produce unit 7, you get 15 in extra revenue. However, you now incur $18 in extra cost. And that is, I hope, quite clearly to you. I mean, I'm hoping this looks pretty clear. This is a bad deal, right? You don't want to spend $18 to make 15. You lose $3, and in fact, your profits drop by 11. So the profit maximizing output here is 6 units, profits $14. One thing to note on this marginal revenue, marginal cost method, we didn't have a spot where they exactly equaled each other. So what we have to rely on then is you keep producing as long as the extra revenue exceeds the extra cost. You never produce when the extra cost will exceed the extra revenue. So here you keep producing when the extra revenue exceeds the extra cost, and that's all the way through the 6th unit, but the 7th unit, when the extra cost exceeds the extra revenue, you don't produce that unit.